about the past 10 minutes, Damon.
Yeah, you're spot on there with this. And Lawrence mentioned a lot of good things. You know, we know that this storm is probably going to have a very good chance of producing a tornado. If it's going to do it over an area where there are no homes, and this is the area you want to do. You want to keep these things out across open land here. You can see there the terrain gets pretty hilly, gets really difficult in here. So still watching this tornado threat. Remember, this warning continues for a little while longer. Right now it is currently 6:23. Still watching these storms moving up to the northeast, and this tornado warning, this one in particular, will not expire until 6:45 here. Jonathan, looking at velocity here. Jonathan, anything stand out from what you're seeing here with this velocity?
Yeah, I think we had a period there where it spun up pretty good on a scale of like, let's do 1 to 5. If I go all the way back in time here and just looking at where the tornado warning was issued and what we see on radar, I see on radar that the velocity couplet's coming up a little bit. Even though the storm, Chris Sanders said the storm was kind of HP, high precipitation based, it's going to be therefore low visibility for our chasers and for Sky 5 as I cross-cut the storm, look through it. It's like an X-ray, right? I'm looking at the Doppler part of it, the velocity part, and I'm looking at it, and this thing still has a really healthy mesocyclone. When I say mesocyclone, that's synonymous with heart. This is the heart of the storm, the core of it, and it is still spinning. Now I'm going to kind of switch over here, so I'm going to show you what you usually see, right? This is like the intensity. And again, the hail core is back to the west, to the northwest of Holy City. So here's where your hail core is. And this is actually warned now for teacup size hail. That's 3-inch hail. So it has a really strong updraft. Really good inflow notch. See this area right here, Mount Scott, which is really clear of intensity. This is all the inflow coming into it. And again, the overall, it's still rotating. So we're really going to have to watch it. And again, like I said earlier, not quite sure what it's going to do over Mount Scott here and the mountains, but I'd be really curious to see what's going to happen after it comes downslope as it spins out. A lot of times when they go over elevation, they get flattened out, and when they come back out, they spin up really hard. So we'll have to watch that, Damon.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that happen right now, Jonathan. Let's go out to KOC 05 Storm Chaser Lawrence McEwen. Lawrence, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Damon, right now this is the center part of the wall cloud. It's a little funnel that came down right in the center of the wall cloud here, and it's right there for almost a minute. It looked like a tornado on the ground. It's hard to tell because these things get so close to the tops of the mountains, but you just watched it form right here live. It was there for about a minute and a half, and now it dissipated again. Again, this is right here. We're just on the west side of this wall cloud watching it. I can tell you this storm right now, this wall cloud is moving towards the town of Medicine Park. So if you're listening to us in Medicine Park, you definitely need to be taking your tornado precautions because this storm's going to either come right over you or go just north of you.
Yeah, and what you said there, Lawrence, is a good reminder of the type of tornado environment that we're dealing with. Right now, I don't expect that we're going to see any type of big-time large wedge tornado. A minute and a half, very well could do it again. You can see right now he's in an area right here. This tornado could very well spin up for just a few moments, and then it quickly dissipates here. And more than likely, that's what we're going to see even coming right into Oklahoma City. Right now, the threat for tornadoes has not diminished at all for Oklahoma City. And if anything, right around 7 and 8 o'clock when these storms are moving into the metro here is when we might even see a brief uptick in the tornado potential here across OKC. So these cells, they're very impressive. If you've been here long enough in Oklahoma, then usually it's the end of May. This certainly has a very end of May-like look to it when it comes to storms. That wall cloud and that hook echo moved right over Lawrence. It's now headed right in towards Mount Scott, as Lawrence was just telling you, headed up towards just east of Latonka Acres here. Looks like it's going to move just southeast of Mears, headed up towards Lake Ellsworth here. Lawton is okay. If I'm living downstream outside of this tornado warning, places like Apache, you're watching this closely. Apache right now, it is 6:27. 6:55 is when the storm moves in. Stecker, 7:05. Surreal, 7:10. Every single radar scan that we get right now is going to be vital in helping us see whether or not this storm is going to try to intensify or if it's going to try to weaken. If this storm moves more to the east, it's strengthening. If it continues to move up to the northeast, then that's going to help at least try to bring the tornado threat down enough to where we're not as concerned about a tornado threat as we are then with eventually a straight line wind event coming in here. Remember, it wasn't that long ago, a couple Saturdays ago, when Oklahoma City had to deal with that. Remember those storms that came right into the metro, 70, 75 mile per hour winds, knocked out power for thousands of customers for many hours. We could be dealing with that here. This storm warned on right now for 70-mile-per-hour winds. Even a few gusts in there could easily exceed that as it moves still in a very unstable environment. If you're in Oklahoma City today, if you went outside a couple hours ago, what did you see? Blue sky, sunshine. That's not good and helping keep the storm threat down. If anything, that helps bring it up a bit. And so we didn't want to see that blue sky. We didn't want to see that sunshine. That sunshine allowed the temperatures to get even warmer, even a little bit more instability build in here. And the threat is still alive and well for Oklahoma City. Right now it is 6:30. We still see that area of rotation right now down near Mount Scott. If anything else, some strong winds in there. Not to throw a whole lot of hardcore meteorology in your direction here, but there might be at least a couple issues happening here with the radar. We got to watch it closely. But sometimes when you see those hot colors pop up just like that, you can sometimes get what we call a little bit of contamination. So we're going to have to watch the next radar scan here and see what happens. But if anything, we know there are some strong winds. It's just how strong are these winds coming in right now? If we were to look at some of these wind velocities right now, just south and north of Medicine Park, I'm sure they'd be pinging up around 70, 80 miles per hour. Those are some strong winds. You can see their latest radar scan. Something's happening here near Mount Scott, Jonathan. Not too sure exactly what's going on. What you think this is? Well, what do you see?
Well, I'm telling you right now, so you see the bright colors, and the first thing you think is, whoa, look at those bright colors. Bright colors by themselves doesn't necessarily indicate tornado. You need to look for bright colors. Those are, outbounds moving away from the radar. So these colors right here are moving that way. I want inbounds right next to it. And so these are just some forward flank winds that we're watching. I don't think this is a mesocyclone. I think there's a new meso back here, which absolutely lines up where Lawrence is. Lawrence is back here. This is a mesocyclone. Here's your inflow notch, right? This is where all the humid air is all being drawn in, and it's cutting away at the storm. So that's your inflow notch. Here's your hook. Lawrence saw that brief funnel on the hook. So overall, when you look at the velocity part of it, I think the mesocyclone may be back here. I think there was an old one up here, and the old one died, and here's a new one forming back down to the southwest. So there you go. I think what we're seeing northeast Medicine Park, don't worry about that. Got to watch what's happening back to the west. And there are the views, obviously, from you're looking at Sky 5 right now. There's Mount Scott center to the right, and then back to the left, you can actually see it's going to be kind of hard to tell. Sky 5's looking. The nose of Sky 5 is looking due south. The camera's moving, looking back to the southeast. I think there's a couple areas there. Yeah, you can see Dave Valga zooming in here. That's the new mesocyclone that I think is forming. That's over Medicine Park. Bam, Dave Valga, Chase Rutledge doing really good. There it is. So there's a new wall cloud that I see on radar, and there's some lowerings there. You can see a couple tags right now. We'll just have to watch for that and see how that evolves right there, Damon. That could be what we're seeing on radar.
Yeah, and so we'll be watching these storms. All of these storms that are lining up right now, right just west of I-30 or I-40.
States around us have made it illegal to smoke in cars when children are present. Don't let Oklahoma fall behind. Let's keep our kids safe from secondhand smoke. Learn how you can take action at stopswithme.com.
I'm Noble McIntyre with McIntyre Law. Over the past 20 years, we have fought for Oklahomans who have been injured or killed in automotive or trucking accidents. Accidents happen every day, and whether it's motorcycle, auto, or trucking accidents, it's good to have a local expert to turn to for help.
I'm really grateful that God put them in my life to help me out.
If you or someone you love has been injured in an accident, call McIntyre Law today.
On behalf of myself and the entire McIntyre Law team, I can assure you, no one will work harder than we will.
flooding in Enid. Is Shane available to talk? We'll get Shane on the phone in just a second here. Enid's been seeing a good amount of rain. Now, the threat for severe weather has come down, but I do want to get Shane on the phone. Shane, what are you seeing?
Even this, there's some areas here in Enid that got a really good heavy rain. The ditches filled up real fast, and some of the roads now have about 2 feet of water on them. There's some areas that I was watching back there a moment ago where it was up to the bumper on some of the cars. Even pickups were having a hard time getting through it. Back to you, Damon.
All right, yeah, if pickups are having a hard time getting through that, you know that's a big deal. Let's go out to Lawrence McHugh. I want to look at Lawrence's shot real quick here, trying to see if I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing here. Remember, he's down near Mount Scott, watching at least for some lowering. Looks like at least we have a couple areas of lowering here. Right now, the tornado threat does not look very significant here. I'll let Lawrence tell you right now what he's seeing. But Lawrence, do you see at least a significant tornado risk in front of you at this moment?
David, right now we're watching it right now. This is this old wall cloud area here, and it does have little fingers hanging down from it. Again, this is just on the southwest side of Medicine Park here. It's going to be coming right up over Medicine Park again. We're right here just on the south side of Mount Scott right now. You're looking southeast right here at it. I could tell you, if I'm in Medicine Park, I would be taking my tornado precautions right now. I wouldn't be messing around with this because, again, it's not one of those things where it puts the tornado down and it stays down. It kind of hopscotches on the ground for about a minute and a half, and then pulls back up. So, you're not going to really have warning that it's coming other than just taking your tornado precautions and being ready just in case, Damon.
Yeah, spot on advice there. And, that's why we have these chasers out in the field, because they can tell you things that you might not be able to see well with your own eyes on your television screen there. But as Lawrence is telling you, still putting down these little appendages, these little fingers, as we've been seeing with this storm, that tornado risk. It's there, it's brief. These tornadoes, this storm has probably produced at least almost a handful of tornadoes now since it was warned on. And you saw those tornadoes live on air where they came down, pushed out some winds, stayed on the ground for about 60, 90 seconds, then lifted up, skipped across, came back down. Watching this storm, and Lawrence is looking right into the heart of the cell right here. And this storm still continues to be the only tornado warned storm in the state. It does not mean that the other storms are not to become tornado warned. As a matter of fact, there's another storm just south of this, down south of Lawton, that needs to be monitored as well. So let's see here. Here we are. This is Mount Scott. Here's that inflow area. Largest hail is going to be just north of Latonka Acres. Still being warned on for the baseball size hail. Newest radar scan now pushes that hail core right along the Comanche County line here. So it looks like we've updated the tornado warning. We trimmed the fat a little bit off of the warning. So Lawton, you're good. Ridley, you're good. But Mount Scott, Holy City, storm is now northeast of you. You're still getting the rain. With this storm, you still see that inflow coming in with that tornado, likely about 1.5 miles just northeast of State Highway 49 here. Here is Lake Ellsworth. This thing's going to roll right over Lake Ellsworth right now, and it's getting ready to depart or move out of the Wichita Mountains there. So the storm, whenever you get a cell that moves right over the Wichita Mountains, can certainly be pretty difficult. We still continue this tornado warning. Not only that, but some big time hail, up to baseball size hail with this cell right here as it's moving up to the northeast here at about, I'm going to say it's probably pushing at about 25 miles per hour, I do believe. It continues that northeasterly movement. That will be good in keeping the brief tornado threat. If this storm starts to turn more to the right, then that's when you start getting the more significant tornadoes, the larger ones. I feel confident that the storm's going to keep moving up to the northeast, but until this cold front, which is still about 30 miles away, overcomes these storms, that tornado threat is still going to be there, and these storms are headed right into Oklahoma City. KOCU Storm Chaser Lawrence McHugh, back out to you. What are you seeing?
Damon, right now, this wall cloud here has moved over Lake Watonka right now. There's just on the northeast side of Medicine Park here, and we're watching it right now, and it seems like it's hopscotching over the lake. Every so, a few seconds, we'll see a spray come up off the lake here and go up into the storm. And, I don't want to say it's continuously on the ground, but, it is hopscotched across the lake here. We're watching about 2 times here. It's right here in front of us, and it's going to be moving over towards State Highway 58. I know there's a lot of houses over there on the northeast side of the lake here. So if you live north of Medicine Park and you live along State Highway 58, I'd definitely be taking my tornado precautions because this thing is still doing some odd stuff out here, Damon.
Yeah, our weather can be weird, and this time of the year it can certainly do a lot of weird things. And as Lawrence is telling you, this storm kind of hopscotching across the lake here as they do. Remember, tornadoes don't always stay on the ground from start to finish. They can skip. That is common. That happens a lot, and this storm is more than likely doing that. So watching the water spray up off the lake here, and that threat's going to continue. Jonathan, you've been watching the radar. Anything stand out across the state that's not within this storm? Anything else that looks of concern?
That's a really good question. So when we look over the overall picture and some of the intensity with some of these storms, I still think the dominant storm right now, the one that we're really watching, is one that we've been watching, one that Lawrence is on, Chrysander is on, Sky 5 is on. It still has a really good mesocyclone, still has a really good heart. We'll see what it does. What we need to watch here is for the storms back to the west to overrun this storm. So let me kind of highlight it. So here's our tornadic producing storm, or not tornadic now, but it has been. We're going to have to watch for these cells back to the west, that area and this area, to overrun our storm, basically to overtake it. Once that happens, that storm would be weakening and it would be done. But overall, when it comes to rotation and hail size, it's definitely the storm that we're on right now. A little bit wider view to the north, OKC, you know, how are we doing? You're probably looking outside to the west. You're probably seeing some ominous clouds right now. But we're really dry right now. There are going to be a few showers popping up. There are a few showers out in your Piedmont and Yukon starting to go up. These don't have a lot of strength to them. These are just low-end showers. And even back to the west, you can see overall the big picture. This is really intensifying. This is all going up, but the hail cores on them, this is going multicellular. It's going big line, no real strong hail cores with it per se. Even looking at radar here, some of the hail sizes are not too strong. The one cell back to the west, out near the Corn area, that might have a hail core here, southwest of Weatherford right here. That could have maybe some 1-inch hail with it. It is not warned right now, but that's basically, that went up because of the cold front. But overall, I mean, look, we don't have any warnings to the north, just a heavy rain over Enid, the flooding that we saw with Shane. OKC is dry right now, still watching. It's south of I-40, west of I-44. This is really the danger zone. You probably noticed that the storm that Lawrence is on really doesn't have that classic supercell look. It's turning into, I hate to use such a crude vocabulary, Damon, looks like a big blob is what it's starting to look like. It doesn't look like a discrete supercell, which is isolated. So that's actually good. When these storms get overrun, they just the tornado risk kind of shuts down, at least the supercellular tornado risk. But again, we've been talking about this, I think, if you've been following us on social media for the last couple days, it was, tornado risk number 1 with the supercells in southwestern Oklahoma. Tornado risk number 2 is as this thing lines out, and if we could have some spin-ups along the Bow Echo. I think we're not quite there yet, because this is not quite a true squall line. But to answer your question, I don't see anything out there right now that's more intense than the storm that we have right now, but we're still watching it.
Yeah, and we certainly are, and we'll continue to watch it until we feel like the threat for tornadoes has really come down. You can see on the right-hand side, Sky 5 really giving you just an incredible view right into the heart of this storm, a view that you're only going to get here when you're looking right into these storms. They look different than when they're on the ground. That's an incredible looking shot. You can see that lowering there. This cold front is not that far away. As a matter of fact, Jonathan, if you can zoom out just a little bit here, because you can see the cold front that's now trying to catch up to these storms, and very soon it's likely to do that. It's going to take a little while, but you can see here, this is the cold front. So this green line, once we see that line on the east side of these storms, your tornado risk is pretty much nil. But until that happens, we still got a threat. So as Jonathan shows you, we're still about 36 miles away. Probably about an hour and a half before these storms move in, or before the cold front moves in and overtakes it. It's going to happen somewhere over Oklahoma City here. It's going to get very close into the metro. That tornado risk is still there, but down near Lawton, which is where this tornado warning is, and it looks like, hey, got some good news here. Looks like we've replaced this, we will be replacing this tornado warning now with a severe thunderstorm warning. We like to see that. Now we're still going to continue the potential for a tornado, but this is a step in the right direction, and that is, instead of having a tornado warning, now we have a severe thunderstorm warning with the potential of a tornado. So it's kind of a step downward from the severity here, but it's still a storm to watch. We're still watching it, and we've got Lawrence McEwen on this. We've got Chris Sander on this, and they will give you the all clear when things look like this storm is just done. It's not there yet, but it is at least taking us in the right direction. Right now it is 6:42. You know, we're not that far away from sunset. This time of the year, sun's setting really, really early, so we've got we don't have much daylight left. Still, though, it's a threat. Let's go out the KOCO5 storm chaser, Lawrence McEwen. Lawrence, what are you seeing?
Damon, right now we're here in Medicine Park on the southeast side of the city right now. You're looking back off to the north right now. Our storm is right now reorganizing, so it does not pose a tornado threat at the present time. But nevertheless, we've watched the storm recycle about 5 or 6 times over the past hour or so, and it keeps putting down these really quick little brief tornadoes. And, they're nothing to mess around with. So far they haven't hit anything. But, I tell you, if one hit a house, I wouldn't want to be in the house that it hit, Damon. So, again, just really need to be cautious if this storm or you're in the path of this storm, Damon.
Yeah, spot on. And Lawrence, what you just said is what is very common with these storms, and it happened not that long ago. We had a squall line move right through Oklahoma City. It was warned on. Right when it got east of Frontier City, hit a house. Roof was gone. It was quick, lasted for about 30, 45 seconds, but it was enough to do just that much damage. So we're watching that closely there with this storm. Getting an update right now. Looks like the tornado warning has expired for Caddo and Comanche County. So we no longer have any tornado warnings right now in the state. Great news. We still have the potential for tornadoes with these storms moving up to the northeast. You see the picture right there coming in from Lawrence McEwen there, giving the windshield a nice little clean. Got to do that. Got to keep that windshield clean, keep the picture clean. So this tornado warning, you see here, the red polygon is about to disappear. And now we have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning for Caddo, Comanche County, and Grady County. This until 7:30. This is going to be for still some very large hail up to baseball size. Let's go out to KOCO5 storm chaser Chris Sander. Chris Sander, where are you and what are you seeing?
Hey, Damon, I'm southwest of Cache, and this storm has really organized into a supercell rapidly. You can see in my shot, you can see this very striated base, and I can zoom in for a bit, and you can see the lowered area underneath it. This is a very powerful-looking storm. We're watching it very closely as this is kind of got a little bit of clear air to work with before that cold front catches it, and there's a little bit of rotation. Currently, I'm not seeing anything too concentrated, but we're going to keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know if that changes.
Yeah, and this storm might now be transitioning into one of the stronger storms in the state. Right now, warned on for baseball-size hail. That's right, baseball-size hail, 70-mile-per-hour wind, so that's a big one. Moving up to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. It is big, it is strong, and it is moving fast up the turnpike here. You can see the good amount of lightning strikes from time to time there with this shot, again, down near Lawton. Let's go back to the radar. Let's keep these pictures up if we can. Hey, Jonathan, if you can, let's just track these storms into the metro. Let's just draw out a long storm track coming into Oklahoma City and see the exact time of arrival that these cells will move in.
Yeah, there you go, Damon. So it's the speed of that cell has actually come up a little bit. Before we're tracking at about 25 miles an hour, and it's now gone up to about 30 miles an hour. It's accelerating a little bit. So that's their current storm track. So coming into Anadarko about 7:12, that's like a half hour away. Pocasset 7:42. Minco about 8 o'clock. And so we're talking OKC. For this cell right here, come in the southwest side of OKC as early as 8:15. Will Rogers about 8:25, and then the outlet shops 8:26, 8:36 for OKC. The Midwest City about 8:42. So again on the left, storm track coming into OKC. Sky 5's right on it, and he's looking right into the heart of that storm, the mesocyclone. He's in the perfect spot now. Unfortunately, sunset is right now. 6:46 is the sunset for OKC. So we're losing definitely some of our sunlight here. So the visibility with Sky 5 is really going to go down. It's also going to go down with some of our storm chasers here. But that's the update with that. Damon, there's one area that I'm just kind of watching. So that's a storm track with that. There's one area that we need to watch here is some of the winds out near the Fort Cobb area. Doesn't necessarily look like it's a dominant cell or anything, but some of the velocities that we're kind of watching in this area here could produce some damaging winds. It is actually not warned right now by the National Weather Service. It's in this area right here. There's some pretty strong winds, and those winds are ramping up. Again, it's not the main core of a storm. It doesn't look like it's a dominant cell, but it's going up, and it's ahead of the cold front, and unfortunately it's all going to be wrapped up in rain, so we're not going to see anything. We'll have to watch that for rotation just a little bit. Again, this is going to be the Fort Cobb Reservoir area, area of not not necessarily rotation, but just an area of winds that we're going to have to watch. And so some winds may be coming into the Fort Cobb Reservoir area, Albert, and Binger. Not necessarily tornadic, but maybe some damaging winds coming in. We're really going to have to watch that. So you just asked me about 5 minutes ago, is there anything worse? No, this is a dominant storm right here near Apache. That's when Sky 5 and Lawrence are on. There's a storm down near South Cache. This is the one that Chris Sanders on, right? Here's Cache, there's Hollister. That's the one that's a discrete supercell. We'll have to watch that. But kind of have to watch this little pocket of winds here, which is just, again, north of our main dominant supercell, Damon.
Yeah, and even looking at that area that you showed, that's still ahead of the cold front. That's still in that unstable air. And so this is the front. So this is going to be the area to watch as well. You saw a little bit of spin happening in there within that cell, still moving up to the northeast. Anything that is still east of here is in play. And look at these storms now coming into the metro. Storms now beginning to go up just west of Edmond. These are brief. They're not that significant yet, but what's going to happen here, you're going to see pretty much this cold front merge right with this big cluster of storms right over Oklahoma City. I mean, these storms are moving up to the northeast. They're moving faster than this front's moving, so that means that these storms are going to come into the metro. That hail threat is still going to be there. I want to go out to KOCO5 field meteorologist Michael Armstrong right now. Michael, you've been tracking these storms now coming into the metro. Where are you and what are you seeing?
Well, Damon, we are just to the west of Minco now on Highway 152. We're moving out toward Binger now. There is that area that Jonathan mentioned where this is going to be kind of our concern, is where we start seeing upticks in the velocity as the cold front interacts with this storm complex coming out of southwestern Oklahoma up toward El Reno, Mustang, Yukon. This is what we've been kind of waiting for all day, is that we're going to have a cluster of storms. Also, we have this strong cold front moving in with severe storms potentially along it. When those two merge together, that's when we want to watch out for the possibility of spin-ups embedded back in the storms. This is where it's going to get very interesting, because things can happen in a big hurry, and that's not meant to scare anyone or anything, but it just means you need to be on point in case that happens. We're not seeing it right now, but it's a possibility because of how much shear is in the atmosphere and the fact that we're dealing with some very powerful storms today. So that's all going to converge in the metro over the next 1 to 2 hours. So we want people to be aware of that as these storms approach. We'll be checking out the storm out near Binger. Damon, back to you.
Yeah, we're watching these storms as they continue to move to the east-northeast. Right now in Oklahoma City, it is 6:50. We have 1 hour to go before these storms will move in. That tornado watch expires at 10 o'clock. We're going to continue our coverage both online as well as we will cut in as necessary with these storms as they continue to move to the east. Once again, tornado watch expires at 10 o'clock. Keep it with KOCO5 News. We'll bring you the first alert.